Hello, how are you today? Do you want to dive into a book that might just surprise you, whether it becomes your next favorite or one you might skip? Let's find out what readers are saying about it.
Bruna, who has 565 likes, says 3.25 stars. Happiness couldn't be won. It couldn't be hung around our necks while a crowd of thousands cheered. It wasn't a prize, something we had to suffer and toil to earn. If we wanted happiness, we had to create it ourselves. Not in one shining moment on a medal stand, but every single day, over and over again. I went into this book with the highest of expectations after seeing everyone praising it left and right, but unfortunately, I couldn't love it as much as I thought and hoped I would. See, it is not a terrible book, not even remotely. Even though I didn't love it, I can still admit that the favorites has a lot of strong points. It has a good writing, interesting format, complex and flawed characters that actually feel human, and a well-crafted story filled with lots of emotions. But the problem is that I just wasn't profoundly amazed by it like most people were. For starters, I didn't feel connected to the protagonists, which is probably the biggest issue here. I'd say a book can have the most compelling story ever, but if you don't feel that profound emotional connection to the main characters, the whole thing kind of loses its impact a bit. Katerina and Heath, like I said earlier, are both complex and flawed characters. They don't have an ounce of perfection in them, and most of the times they weren't necessarily easy to like. Trust me when I say that these two can be absolutely infuriating. But honestly, that's okay for me. It wouldn't be interesting if they were perfect and flawless people that only made right decisions. There's no fun on that. The protagonists' complexities and flaws made them feel more human, vulnerable and authentic. And while they frustrated me more times than I can count, I still like that the author made a nice effort to create fleshed-out characters. So yeah, I don't think they were badly written characters or anything like that. That's not my point. The thing is that I just didn't feel deeply, emotionally connected to them, and that prevented me from loving Kat and Heath and being truly invested in everything that was happening to them. And I didn't feel emotionally connected to the love story between Kat and Heath either. At the beginning, I did think it was going to be deep, addictive and remarkable, but at some point I've come to the conclusion that it wasn't neither of these things. In the blurb of the book we read that their love story is epic and that Kat and Heath are an obsession to one another, but I, personally, couldn't quite see that. Their romance failed to evoke such strong emotions on me, unfortunately. At times I did feel sort of touched, but in general I just felt bored and nothing else. That's the reason why I didn't root for them to end up together. I wanted more angst, more chemistry, more intensity, and most importantly, more depth. It saddens me because the potential was right there. As for the overall story, well, I have to say that it made me feel super conflicted. In one hand, I think it was interesting. It started kind of slow, but luckily, it didn't take long to pick up the pace. I quickly got immersed by it and wanted to keep going to see how things would turn out. I mean, I wasn't loving it completely. I had a few issues here and there, and some aspects were weak, not good. But I was still having a nice time nonetheless, and I didn't want to put the book down due to my immense curiosity. And the storytelling made things even better. It alternated between Kat's perspective and transcripts of documentary interviews, which I was a fan of. I listened to the audiobook and the narration was absolutely amazing. It actually felt like I was listening to a real documentary. It just felt so real and unique. Needless to say, I was entertained. On the other hand, it wasn't exactly what I expected. I was told beforehand that this would be a super messy book full of drama and toxicity. But in my humble opinion, it wasn't as messy and dramatic as I thought it would be. Sure, there is messiness, toxicity and drama, those things weren't lacking. Don't get me wrong, but I just felt like it wasn't enough. Nearing the end. I thought so. That's all of it? What a bummer. I wanted and needed more drama. Messiness and crazy twists and turns. The twists and turns we had were definitely surprising. But still, I don't think it was super crazy. The author should have been messier. Additionally, I also had problems with the pacing. It was a bit odd to me. It was either too fast or too slow. And I didn't like that. I feel like some events needed more attention and time. And others didn't. But the author still focused on them. Which was not very interesting. And on top of that, I couldn't find the last couple chapters super good. I was obviously still curious to see how it would end. But somehow I wasn't as entertained anymore. I wholeheartedly think that the first half was stronger than the second half. With all that being said, I didn't hate this book. But I didn't love it either, like I mentioned. It has a lot of strong points. But they just didn't amaze me that much. Win some, lose some, I guess. Even with the issues I've had though. I still firmly think that The Favorites is a well-written book that deserves all the praise that it's getting. I am a little sad that I didn't completely love it. But I do have hopes that other people will. I recommend this novel to those who are looking for a unique story that manages to hold your interest from the beginning to the very end. Many thanks to my friend Charlotte for being the best reading buddy and for listening to my super long and chaotic rants about this book. Julie, who has 150 likes, says 4.65 stars. What to expect? Childhood friends to lovers, chosen family, ice dancing partners, Olympic skaters, toxic relationships, child abuse, poverty and dysfunctional family dynamics, character growth, first person POV. If you're a Taylor Jenkins Reid fan, this book is for you. The writing style of these two authors is so similar that I had to Google pictures of each of them and look at them side by side to convince myself that they were in fact two different people. I am going to take it one step further and say that I personally like this book more than any of the TJR books I've read. I said it. The drama and toxic relationships had me completely locked in. Katerina was consumed to the point of obsession with achieving her goal of winning the Olympic gold. I loved her character growth as the story progressed, but it was tragic to watch her sacrifice so much along the way. I personally thought Heath's choices were extremely unpredictable, which added a lot of intrigue to the plot. This story didn't have the picture-perfect happily ever after that I tend to prefer. But it still ended in a place that felt right for the characters and the story. This was such a great book and an exceptional audio narration. I highly recommend downloading this one. The hype is valid. Pre-read. Is this the ice skating equivalent of Carrie Soto is back? I was fully expecting a foo-foo palate cleanser romance and now I am struggling to shift gears. Ree, who has 177 likes, says 5 perfection stars. Everyone thinks Heath Rocha was my first love. He wasn't. My first love was figure skating. There is only one word to describe this book masterpiece. It completely consumed me in every possible way. I have always loved reading messy and toxic stories. They're my kryptonite, and this kind of story always hits right in the heart, body, and soul. The Favorites was no exception. I loved the story. It's unique, captivating, and so unputdownable that you feel like you exist in Katerina and Heath's world. It's theirs, and everyone else is merely living for the show they're putting on to win. The Favorites is an addictive, profound, and complicated yet impactful and beautiful story about two people, the infamous favorites of the skating world, Katerina and Heath. I am obsessed with their story, their lives, their competitive nature, and the way they dance so soulfully and skillfully. Layne Fargo's writing is riveting, and the exquisitely detailed narrative pulls you right into the story, into the world she created. It feels like being part of the audience, a part of their ice skating world. Katerina Shaw is an ambitious, confident, and competitive ice skater whose only dream was to be just like Layne, the queen of ice dancing, and win gold. Her character is so intense and raw that it could make you hate her at times. But I never did, not even when she did everything in her power to win competitions. Even pushing and hurting the people she loved. She embraces her spiteful demeanor, even when it gets her into trouble. But she is the queen of her own world. Her character is multi-layered, filled with complexities that make her difficult to love. Yet her determination and passion for ice dancing make it impossible not to. She gave everything to the sport, practically worshipped Layne, and kept coming back stronger and smarter every time the sport, and the people within it, tried to break her. That resilience makes her even more compelling. She may be an ambitious bitch, but you can't deny the legacy she left behind for all the women in her world. He wanted to be everything to me, the way I was everything to him. And I would always want more. Heath Rocha is the most complicated and mysterious character in this book. I loved him, but there were times he made it difficult to do so because of the petty things he did to hurt Katerina. His entire life revolved around her and her dream of winning gold. He was so pathetically in love with her that he followed her dream just to be with her. Until he became the best ice skater. The one Katerina could never have. I admire the way he loved Katerina, however messy and toxic it was. His love for her was all-encompassing and consuming. I loved his growth over the years they skated together. How he eventually found his own place in the sport and fought for it. He helped Katerina in many ways but also tore her down with his hurtful antics, which frustrated me. But despite that, I understood his choices and decisions. I may not have liked them, but I understood them. He looked at me like he'd been wandering in the dark for years. And I was the sunrise. Heath and Katerina are everything to each other, ice dancing partners, childhood sweethearts, star-crossed lovers, rivals, haters, and soulmates. Their story is epic and unforgettable in a way that completely consumes you. The way they perform on the ice is mesmerizing. And the way they love each other is toxic and messy, yet all-encompassing. It's everything. I am utterly enamored with their love. The yearning, the hatred, the love, and the rage they feel toward each other are poured into their dance performances, making them even more beautiful and addictive. You can hate them or love them, but you cannot ignore their talent on the ice, or their love story. There are lots of different kinds of love. Love like a steady, warming campfire that keeps you alive in the cold. Love like a raging blaze that burns down everything in its path until nothing but ash remains. Their chemistry, both on and off the ice, was everything. They truly bring out the best and worst in each other. Since childhood, Katerina and Heath have been inseparable, bonded by sadness, loneliness, and their shared love for skating. They've been through hell together, put each other through hell. Yet they always found their way back to each other. The push and pull was maddening, but so damn good. Heath and Katerina are the very definition of right person, wrong timing. And it took them years to finally get it right. The last time, "You're my home," Heath had said to me once. Despite all the years we'd spent apart, all the time we'd wasted, he was my home too. He always had been. Bella was such an interesting character to read about. I struggled to love her at first, but once I did, I never looked back. She's similar to Katerina, but more intense in a mean and competitive way. I loved her and Katerina's friendship, however unhealthy it was at the start, because it was real for them. Garrett is the best, the most precious character, who deserved only good things from the very start. I loved him, even though I had my suspicions early on. But he turned out to be such an incredible, exceptional human being. Layne was a calculating, conniving, and ruthless bitch, but one you hate but also admire. The world competitions, the Olympics, The drama, the romance, everything was so intense. Yet, the new and old friendships between the characters added a layer of warmth and comfort. Even as the rivalries continued, the interviews added a layer of mystery that kept me hooked. And the drama only made the story more intense and addictive. I loved the side characters and how everyone had their own stories unfolding, each pushing the other to their absolute limits. Layne beautifully and intricately captured the challenges and complexities of ice dancing, along with the spellbinding beauty of the performances. The ending was perfect. It was true to Katerina and Heath's story of winning and losing. Layne must have put some kind of drug into this book because I am now addicted to watching ice skating. Did I finish the book or did it finish me? This book is now haunting my dreams, so I guess it's time to give it a try. Nilüfer Ozmekik, who has 354 likes, says, scandalous, stimulating, thrilling, addictive. This book is the true definition of obsession. You don't want it to end and just want to spend more time in the wild ride madness of Kat and Heath. This is an epic sports romance with a heart-pounding, exciting, hyperventilating, and also very realistic approach to the ice dance world. It delves into how far contenders will go to win an Olympic medal, with ambitions, power games, speculations, and manipulations taking over their high efforts and performances until the skaters hurt themselves, physically and mentally, pouring their souls, sweat, blood, hopes, dreams, and hearts into their dance. Eyes on the prize. Stakes are getting higher at each contest, and only winning ensures survival. Prepare yourself for betrayals even from your closest circle. Nobody is trustable. When the gold medal is within reach, you cannot see anything except that before your eyes. That's the dog-eat-dog world of competitive sports. This epic journey centers on the passionate, yet sometimes toxic and dysfunctional, love story of two Olympic skaters, Katerina Shaw and Heath Roca, childhood sweethearts who ran away from home at the age of 16 to become an ice dance skating couple. Katerina escapes from her alcoholic, abusive brother, while Heath is an orphan raised in the foster care system. Katerina is the only person he can truly be himself with. Their fate changes when they meet the Layne twin children of legendary Olympic Games golden medal winning skater Sheila Layne. The Layne twins, living privileged lives, become new stars of ice dance competitions, following in their mother's footsteps, when Sheila invites Katerina and Heath to train at her school, where they have the opportunity to reach the top of their game. Katerina feels like her dreams are finally coming true. She has admired Sheila Layne since childhood, seeing her as a role model, and is obsessed with becoming as tough and successful a skating star as her. Katerina finds herself in the orbit of Bellelina, relentless rival, straightforward friend, and the charm of her brother, Grant Layne. Her close interactions with them and her thirst for winning create problems with Heath and ruin the relationship they build over the years. Eventually, they find themselves in a roller coaster relationship with so many ups and downs that push them to hurt each other, even though their passionate love still prevents them from killing each other in front of their fans. When a tragic incident leads to a sports scandal, a series of unexpected shocking events bring their partnership to a heart-wrenching end. 10 years later, an unauthorized documentary reignites Shaw and Roca's obsession, uncovering the truth about their untold story. The narrative moves through the timeline, telling how Katerina and Heath met, how they escaped from their hometown, and how their lives changed with the Layne twins. Interwoven are the perspectives of various characters, including ex-skater and popular gossip blogger Ellis Dean, Kat and Heath's instructors, and their rivals. The questions remain. What really happened 10 years ago? Could Kat and Heath train for a surprise comeback? How will their epic love story resolve? Will they kill each other? Or will they push each other like magnets forever against all odds? Finding their kind of happy ending? I fell in love with this book. It's the best thing I've read lately. I can honestly declare it one of the best fictions of 2024. Deserving more than 5 stars. Interestingly, sometimes I wanted to slap the characters. Scream at their faces. Especially Katerina brings out so many mixed feelings from you. You respect her, but you also hate her for acting like a vindictive, self-absorbed person who only focuses on the gold medal, walking over anyone without looking back to get what she wants. Heath made my eyes roll at some points, as he acted like a loyal puppy, letting Katerina treat him like trash without defending himself. Let's not forget Bella, who is also reckless when it comes to winning, manipulating people against each other. Interestingly, I easily connected with each of these characters, even though they have qualities that made me irritated. Even Ellis Dean was the secret ingredient of this book. He was an antihero you dislike, but you get arrested by his weird charm. Overall, this book made me excited, as if I am watching sports performances in real life. It made me cry at some tragic parts, but honestly, it brought out so many complex emotions that I embraced them with the help of this powerful and somewhat inspirational, honest story. And did I mention I adored the conclusion, which might be the best end or the beginning for the characters? So far, this is the best Layne Fargo book I've read, and I advise you to read it over and over again. Many thanks to NetGalley and Random House Publishing Group for sharing this marvelous book's digital reviewer copy with me in exchange for my honest thoughts. Follow me on medium.com to read my articles about books, movies, streaming series, astrology, Medium.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Charlotte, who has 127 likes, says 4.5. The level of emotional damage this book caused me is beyond explanation. Also, I can't remember the last time I was so frustrated with the characters I had to turn off my Kindle and go touch some grass. So, obviously, I loved it. This book is the story of Katerina Shaw and Heath Rocha, who were ice dancing partners, soulmates, rivals, and everything in between. Kat and Heath were themselves. Always. Whether you loved them or hated them, you sure as hell couldn't ignore them. Katerina. First off, I loved her. I will start with that because I know a lot of people didn't enjoy her character at all. Now, I don't know how much of my liking her comes from the far leftist, men-eating, 16-year-old feminist still living inside me and how much of it is just her being an icon. But I am honestly good with it either way. She might be the most ambitious and driven woman I've read about yet. She knew what she wanted to achieve from the very beginning, was willing to make sacrifices for it, and made no apologies. I love that she is a character that shows girls and women that it is okay to strive for more, that it is okay to want to be recognized for your talent and accomplishments, and not the social roles people would like to see you in. That being said, don't think I am not noticing the mistakes she made. The fact that she was not only making sacrifices herself but also accepting or even expecting others to make them for her being one of them. Also, her getting so caught up in winning, she lost the ability to enjoy her successes. But again, I love that those flaws were shown. Finding balance between striving for accomplishments and being able to create your own happiness is, at least I think so, a very common struggle. I am glad we got to say Kat's journey there, even if reading it at times made me want to bite my own head off. I didn't want to be forgotten. I wanted to be remembered for the right reason. I convinced myself if I became the best, it didn't matter who I hurt, because in the end, it would be worth it, even if I hurt myself most of all. But what was the point if you had everything and enjoyed nothing? Heath. My feelings for Heath, however, went through way more changes. I loved him in the beginning. The depth of his love for Kat was unreal. The things he was willing to do for her? Unrealer. But obviously, that level of devotion is rarely healthy. Especially if you add in all of his past unresolved trauma. Still, I thought he was a sweetheart. However, some things he did there in the middle left me with both my jaw and my Kindle on the floor. So out of character and so uncalled for. I won't go into details because I don't want to spoil anything. Fortunately, we did get some character growth towards the very end. Even with all his choices I hated with passion, I have to say I still do like him. And enjoyed his character. I can criticize what I want. But how much he cared and how deeply he felt things are out of the question. And whatever Kat loved, Heath at least pretended to love too. Shaw and Rocha, they were soulmates. Sure, they were also an absolute mess. Their relationship made me almost lose my mind. I quickly learned not to expect anything to happen because it probably wouldn't happen anyway. There were moments where I confidently said that she didn't deserve him. Only to choke on that and say he didn't deserve her. So my take is, they deserve each other. That may sound like a bad thing. But I honestly think that either of them being with anyone else would cause everyone more pain in the end. And with Kat learning how to put people before winning, and Heath learning to put literally anything before Kat, they might actually make a semi-healthy couple. We're Shaw and Rocha, I said, and there is nothing we can't do together. Some way or another. Heath Rocha and I will be in each other's lives until we die. Even if we end up killing each other. The writing. Here, I don't have a single bad thing to say. The writing itself was great to both read and listen to. The documentary interview style made things even more interesting. Also, I want to say that this was so fast-paced that even though the chapters were short, I sometimes had to put the book down between them just to process everything I've read. That's not necessarily good or bad. Just a fact I thought I'd throw in here. So the takeaway from this is, the characters are flawed and at times unlikable. There is drama and toxicity. A lot happens. And I loved it. Also thank you Hoda for putting up with my 4 a.m. updates when I was dying. And thank you Brew for being my reading buddy. Until you fell behind. For Katerina, Tanya, Surya, and all the other badass women who've shown me what it means to win on your own terms. This already had me hooked and that's only the dedication. The thing is, when pushing your limits is all you know, when it seems normal to you, it's hard to remember you even have limits. Until you run right into them. They were going to die in each other's arms or kill each other with their bare hands. Nothing in between. I missed him the way a soldier misses a severed limb. He looked entirely different from the Heath Rocha I'd known and loved. And yet recognition struck my heart like a bell. He looked at me like he'd been wandering in the dark for years. And I was the sunrise. There are lots of different kinds of love. Love like a steady, warming campfire that keeps you alive in the cold. Love like a raging blaze that burns down everything in its path until nothing but ash remains. Tell me these last two aren't Sue BJ Parks coded. We've wasted so much time. Haven't we? We're here now. I told him. Let's not waste any more. And so many more, but I am gonna let you experience some of them for the first time while reading. Also, here is a link Bookstagram review and some edits for it. If you'd like to check it out. Pre-review. Everyone who recommended me this, give me your addresses, you will be receiving my therapy bills from now on. Review and rating to come, but I need to digest this first. Pre-read. 5 stars from Clace. Heather AAAND Hoda? ATP not starting this immediately just feels wrong. LMAO.